Hello and welcome back to successWerk, the Success Factory. My name is Felix Becker and I am, of course, your very own success coach. So you've heard this before. Your network is your net worth. The more awesome people we know, the more awesome our lives are going to be. And I am on this quest right now to meet as many new and amazing people as I can. And I realized, why not share these experiences with you so you too can be introduced to some of these incredible people. My first guest for this segment is Devinne Caples. Devinne is a fellow Lumia life coach graduate and she has an inspiring story to tell. I want you to listen in, and if anything resonates with you about the story, about the conversation that we're having, leave a comment below. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this episode with anyone else who you think might benefit from this conversation. And if you want to connect with Devinne or myself, the links are in the description. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Well, Devinne, it's actually really cool to meet you, to be honest with you. You're the first person on this new segment that I'm trying to put together for my own channel. So thank you for doing this. Truly amazing. So tell me about you. Where are you coming from? Who are you?
Who am I? Well, I started out as a stay-at-home mom for 12 years, and then I went back to school. I didn't finish school because I had kids early. So I went back to school and I got my bachelor's in human resource management and then my master's in management and leadership, and then a DEI certification from the University of Washington. And then I moved on into the workforce, and I've been an HR professional for the last 5 years. And during my work as an HR professional, there's a lot of coaching. So I figured, why not go get the skill set to be better at that?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
really, I signed up to become better in a corporate role, not to start my own business, to start out.
Yeah.
So went through the program, became certified, and then I got laid off.
Oh no.
So yeah, I got laid off a couple weeks ago. So I was like, you know what? This is the chance. This is the time. Like, I have the time and the resources. Building a business is a heavy lift. Launching a business is a heavy lift.
Yes.
So I decided, let's just go for it. So things are coming together. I have all the pieces, but the final website will be up in January. But right now I have a soft launch that's happening this Friday, actually, Black Friday, with some really cool deals. So
that's really cool.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me and where I come from.
Yeah. So
and I'm located in the Seattle area.
Yes, I know you're on that. You're like Pacific time, so you're 3 hours behind me.
Yes.
So I wanted to come back to something you said. So you had kids early, and then you still went to go to college and got a degree, and you got a master's degree. You did all that while you were a stay-at-home mom?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's a lot of work.
It is.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. I wanted to show my kids that really you can do whatever you want to do, as long as you put in the work and you have the drive and the motivation and the discipline. Really, it's not motivation, it's discipline. Because motivation comes and goes. But discipline is the routine and the habit. So during that time, one of my kids actually told me, all you do is like clean, cook, and study. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. For 2 years, that's pretty much what I did. Like,
yeah.
So
yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. I think, yeah, as a parent, showing our kids the hard work it takes to reach some level of success that you desire is so important, right? I mean, I see that with my kids. They're in school all the time and they don't get to see what I do for work at all, right? I didn't know about it, but they don't know anything about it. And so in your experience, at least, your kids have seen exactly everything that you do all the time. And that sets a fantastic example, I think, for them. So that's truly awesome. The fact that you did that while you were also a stay-at-home mom, I mean, that's a lot of work. So kudos to you.
Yeah, well, now they are 16, 15, and 13. So 3 teenagers. Pray for me.
Yes.
We are, but they're great. So it's, and I bring that experience into my coaching practice.
Totally.
as well with parenting. So parenting and co-parenting is one of the things that I specialize in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll get to the coaching in just a second. So,
Yeah.
before you get to the coaching side, you were in human resources. So, how did
Yes.
you end up in human resources? What drew you to that?
So I come from two corporate parents who worked in the corporate world. So business was always kind of like, that's the path because that's what I was shown, right?
Yeah,
So I always wanted to be in business, and then I was like, but I really like people. Like, what do I do about that? Like, I don't want to be in like marketing or finance or like, not to like dog those departments. They're awesome departments, but like they're not the people department. So HR was where I found myself. I found myself really interested in everything having to do with HR. So, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was like people and culture became a thing.
yeah,
And so now what we're seeing is HR and people and culture are kind of two separate things. A lot of the times we'll wear the same hat, but separate things. And so really it's the people and culture side that engages me.
yeah,
The employee experience, I'm passionate about. Psychological safety, I'm passionate about. Um, I am passionate about bringing your whole self to work, that these newer generations, millennials and Gen Zs, are wanting to bring their full selves to work, which means bringing your feelings to work.
yeah,
And we've never
yeah.
done that before.
Right, right.
So it's a hard balance between baby boomers and Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Zs because they want different things and expect different things out of the workplace. And they are almost polar opposite a lot of the time.
That is so true.
So this shift that's happening right now in the world, it's hard and it's rough. And I think we're going to continue to see some turnover. We're going to continue to see unemployment. We're going to continue to see these things until leaders, I think once millennials hit the C-suite, things are going to change.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be some kind of mass effect once that happens. There's some critical mass that we have to reach first
There
before we
is.
can see those shifts. Absolutely. No, I mean, you're kind of speaking to my heart. I mean, in my world, burnout is rampant,
Yes.
and so that's kind of what drew me to coaching as well, to some degree. Uh, and try to find ways to make that better. But yet dealing with the older generations is so
Yes.
different than dealing with the younger generation that are much more
Yes.
open to this, right? To but be much more open, like you said, bring your feelings to work, right? I'm a human
Yeah.
being. I have feelings. That's totally normal,
Yeah.
right? And my life doesn't just evolve around a job. Sure, it provides. I have to work, right? I have to pay my bills somehow, but
Yeah.
I also want to do something that I'm passionate about.
Exactly. That has
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what people are wanting in life. It is no longer, I will stay at this crappy job for 50 years for this money.
Right.
People will leave money for a healthier culture, for more
Absolutely.
flexibility, for more work-life integration.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, I come from the medicine world, and
Okay.
it's different than the corporate world. There's a lot of
Yes.
corporate levels to medicine, but at the ground floor, we're not involved with that at all, and that's a lot of the disconnect that we're having in medicine. That's why a lot of nurses are quitting, a lot of doctors are moving
Yes.
away, is because there is that huge disconnect between the upstairs and the downstairs.
Right.
And our hearts are very differently aligned than just we
Yes.
just need to make money for the business, right?
Hmm.
Like we actually want to help people, take care of people, right? They're in dire straits and they came to us for help. Like we're not looking to, you know, how do we best get into their wallet, which is what the people
Right.
upstairs always want to do, right?
Right.
What's been your experience with burnout then in the more corporate setting?
Burnout is rampant. Burnout, especially from work from home. I've worked remotely the past 3 years, 4 years. Um, and there's great flexibility and work life integration possibilities, but you have to set boundaries for yourself when work and home are no longer separate.
Yes.
And that's where I see the problem is
Yes.
that people entering the workforce haven't been told about business etiquette, about communication, about boundaries, about these life skills. So at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whenever you're done, you close the computer, you turn off your notifications on your phone, you are done.
Yep.
because the work is never done, right? Like that's why we have jobs, like
Yeah.
because the work is never done.
Right.
So I think if I've seen it with people that go too hard, very ambitious. I've seen it with people who are just trying to keep up. Maybe they're in the wrong field or the wrong role. I've seen it higher up all the way down. I think it's affecting everyone. And part of it, I think, is that generational gap. People aren't getting what they need and want from a workplace.
Yep.
So that's creating, burnout because you don't want to do the work if you're not happy and you're doing the work and it's working hard. Like if you're not taking care, I am a wellness enthusiast. If you are not taking care of your mind, body, spirit, even
Yes.
at work,
Yes.
like you're going to have burnout or overwhelm.
Right. Oh my God. There's so much here that I'm just we can unpack. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're talking about the boundaries at home, for example,
Yes.
right? You're absolutely right. You're blending your professional life with your personal life. Now, as an entrepreneur, but a lot of times we do that anyways, because like you said, the work never stops for us.
Exactly.
Because it's not a job, right?
Yeah.
It's our passion, it's our purpose.
Yeah.
But for people who have like a traditional, the 9 to 5 job that they're doing from
Right.
home, that becomes a huge problem.
Mhm.
On top of that, you're missing out on that human element, right? I mean, us humans are not meant to live in isolation. We're not meant to live alone,
No.
right? And so
No.
we're missing the social aspect at work, right? Because we're just
Mhm.
surrounding ourselves with families. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you that that's those two are huge factors when it comes to burnout
Mhm.
in the modern world.
Mhm.
It's funny, right? These like what we're doing here right now is Zoom, right? I mean, we've never met
Yeah.
in person, and it's
Right.
allowing us this connection, this conversation, and yet we're not in the same room together, right? There's
Exactly.
still something that we're missing here as human beings. It's great, but it's also limiting us to some degree. And I
Right.
think we're putting too much emphasis on this technology instead of putting more emphasis on those human connections, making sure people's needs are met. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I totally hear you on that. And on the wellness side of thing, so I was in the Air Force for a number of years, and it was perfectly normal for us to, if in the middle of my day, I said, I'm going to the gym for an hour. Everybody's like, yeah, totally. No problem.
Yeah.
Right. Now, part of that was because we had annual fitness tests. So we had to
Mhm.
stay current with our physical exercise.
Right.
But in outside of the military, right, it's totally normal to take a cigarette break for 10, 15 minutes. But to say,
Right.
oh, I'm going to the gym, it's like, what are you doing? You're at your work, you should work, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, so you're allowing people to slowly kill themselves instead of allowing them to actually get better and then making them physically, mentally, and emotionally better, which then also would translate into better job performance, right?
Exactly.
Less turnover, less burnout, better bottom line for
Exactly.
you, right? Yeah, no, there's that's why there's so much that we can unpack here on all of
Oh
that.
yeah.
That is so huge, and it's amazing that it's coming from an HR professional, because this is really the stuff that we need to talk about in the HR world. And like you
Yes.
said, it's I put a package together on burnout, and for the group setting, I have these slides that really show like the individual who is burned out is the one who's susceptible to burnout. Yes, you're the one
Yes.
suffering from burnout, but it's the culture that you surround yourself with that's really setting you up for failure. And it's the
Mhm.
leadership around that that's creating the culture that's setting you up for failure. So it goes all the way up to the top. Like if your leadership is not aligned with these goals, the whole thing is going to crumble down. You're just building a house of
Exactly.
cards, right? So that's huge. So I can see now a little bit where you're coming from then in trying to get
Yeah.
into coaching, right?
Yes.
Because that's a
Yes.
very similar path than what that one I've been
Yeah.
through. So tell me, how did you find coaching in the first place?
I heard about it a few years ago, and I actually was looking for the right school for a few years. And I thought I found one and got like a half scholarship there twice, but didn't quite have the money. And like, so it didn't work out. But I think it didn't work out because I was supposed to find Lumia. So I found Lumia and I chose Lumia because of the diversity of instructors and topics, and that they really support you they can support you all the way to the ICF credential if you
Yeah,
so choose.
right.
And of course, it being an ICF accredited program was important. Um, So yeah, that's kind of how I found the school and why I chose it. Um, so yeah.
Cool. So, what did you have coaching before you joined Lumia, or did you kind of like know about coaching and you're like, I really need to become a coach myself, and then in the process of
I
coaching as
I
well?
knew about it a little bit. And like I said, in my role, I coach a lot, right? And I'd been to therapy a lot. And I know therapy, coaching, people get confused and whatever. But I was like, well, I'm kind of done with my past, right? Like my
Yes.
trauma and my
Yes.
past. Like I've processed all of that.
Right.
So now I want to focus on the present and the future. Where do I go?
Yes.
So coaching was the answer. So I had had a little bit of coaching, but really the focus was my HR role and like becoming better at what I was already doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so what you said there, like again, rings so true with me. So I have
Mhm.
depression. I've been through suicidal thoughts before. I've been on
Same.
7 different antidepressants in my life. I've been through
Hmm.
therapy, and therapy just never got me anywhere because I'm like, my past is done. I can't change anything about it. Why do we keep talking about my past? I want to deal with here and now so I can move into the future, right? And
Right.
so when I discovered coaching for that very similar reason as yours, I'm like, holy crap, this is what I was looking for, right? Because now I can
Yeah.
actually focus on the me right here, right now, and figure out what propels me into the future, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people misunderstand that. And even like in the coaching world, a lot of times we're like, well, there's a big difference between coaching and therapy. I'm like, yeah, there is, but there's also a fair amount of overlap with what we're actually trying
Yes.
to achieve. So
Yes.
just because we're not dealing with diagnosable conditions, which for me as a doctor sometimes is a bit of a gray zone because that's also like something I'm licensed
I
to
can
do,
see that being
right?
challenging.
Um, but there are some people that need to process their past, unleash those
Right.
tethers before they can move on, and that's where therapy can absolutely be helpful. The best way it's been described, and I really love this analogy, is a therapist will help you run, but a coach will help you win.
Right.
And the
Oh,
more
I like that.
yeah, right. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is so true, right? This is so awesome.
Hmm.
I like that so much. So that's great. So what with your coaching now, what are you already ICF certified? Or are you just Lumia certified? Where are you at in that journey?
I am Lumia certified. I will be taking signature in March. I needed a break.
Yes.
Burnout and overwhelm, we talk about it, like I could start to feel it
It's a
and
bear.
creeping
It's a
up.
bear.
And I was
Yeah.
like, nope. Like once you are able to recognize the symptoms that, and they're personal, right? They're different for everybody.
Correct.
What
Yes.
burnout looks like and overwhelm. But I recognize those symptoms now. So as soon as I recognize, I was like, nope. Okay, let's take a break. So in this break though, I'm kind of an overachiever. In this break, I will be sitting. I'm getting the materials for the PHR HR exam.
Okay.
There's two certifications in the HR world, SHRM and the PHR.
Okay.
So they're equivalent. You can have either one, but either one will catapult your HR career. Like you'll do better.
Okay.
So just like with being a coach, right? You'll do better being certified
Right.
through a program than on your own. So I will get the materials, like five big books, in December, and then I will start a prep course in January and sit for that test in March, and then start Lumia in March.
Okay.
So I'm not taking this gap in work like lightly. I'm trying to stay current and stay up on all of these things, but just Lumia certified at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to even how all of this started for you, right? Getting your
Yeah,
bachelor's and your master's work, while
yeah,
were home with kids. You're not one to just sit idle, right? I can
no,
see that. You definitely like to
no,
keep working on yourself and
yes,
also helping others in the process, which is awesome. I mean, more people really should think like that, right? I mean, what can I do that
mhm,
not only helps me, but more importantly, helps others in the process, right?
exactly.
So that's fantastic. So, what are you trying to do with your coaching practice? What's your main focus?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to help people through life transitions. Um, and but my main focus is being career
Mhm.
because of my HR background.
Yeah,
It's
sure,
just a
sure.
given, right?
Yeah.
Career coaching, like I said, parenting, especially transitions, transitioning from infant to toddler, toddler to elementary, elementary to middle school to high
Yeah,
school to empty nest. Those are all different transitions,
right.
and they require a different version of your parenting. And so that's part of it. Um, and really just up leveling people's vibe, like that they're vibing higher and living their best lives, whatever that looks like. So some general coaching as well. Um, but I have like workshops focused on work-life integration and up leveling your happiness, and then one called goal setting and getting shit done. So
I love that.
so those will be workshops I'll be offering next year. So that gives you kind of an idea of what I'm about. I am looking for clients of all ages, and I am more focused on the BIPOC community at this time. There is the coaching space is very white, if we're very honest.
Oh, absolutely.
So being a woman of color, I'm Black and Asian, and being a woman of color, I would like to help my community.
No doubt.
But I am open to, all walks of life. But we'll take a special look at BIPOC clients.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And what you're saying there, I mean, there's whether it's any of these transitions are hard. And
Right.
a lot of times in any niche that you find yourself in, right, with any of these transitions, you feel so isolated. You're like, man, I'm the only one who's suffering with this. I'm the only one who's struggling with this,
Right.
right? And having a coach and creating a community around that and realizing that you're not alone is so big. It's so important. And
Yes.
especially with, all this silent quitting and all this career stuff that
Yes.
we were talking about before with burnout, there is many more transitions coming up, right?
Yes.
So many changes. The way
Yes.
AI is taking over jobs, right? I mean,
Yes.
now we're pushing people into, different regions that they've never been in. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of change, and that's really where the magic of coaching can really help people through those transitions to find a better version of
Exactly.
themselves, right? To truly elevate them to their highest potential, because so many people don't live up to their highest potential. And that's terrible, I think. I think if more of us really were like living life to the fullest and really living up to the fullest potential that we as human beings could be, the world would be a much better
Mhm.
place, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which is so true. So on the parenting side of things, so I have,
Yes.
I would have to say is that the parenting side of things is, to me as a parent myself, has always been interesting, right? If you think
Yeah.
about it, as human beings, for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, we have
Yeah.
raised children, and yet
Yes.
we still don't know what to do, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. We're still messing it up. Yep.
Every generation messes us up in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, right? Even though we've had hundreds of thousands of years of practice. And so, when I first became a parent, I didn't know what I was doing. And
None of us
I
do.
was really struggling, right? And I think that's most
Yeah.
of us, absolutely.
Yes.
And I also became a parent. It wasn't really, I shouldn't say truly planned. And so it came at a
I
probably,
had a couple surprises
and I,
myself. We call them
yeah,
surprises.
there you go. I mean, it was a very pleasant surprise. I love my kids, but they
Yes.
just came
Yes. Yes.
for me for my own life at a very inopportune time.
Yes.
And so I felt like I was never really fully set up for success with my kids, especially in those early ages, because I wasn't ready for it. Now I have them. Now I'm not just dealing with myself, but now I'm also trying to figure out, how do I figure myself out and be able to provide the safety and security and the love that my kids want and the guidance that my
Yes.
kids are looking for. Right? It's so
Yes.
hard. And what I've now learned over my oldest just turned 10, reading
Ah,
books.
double
And
digits.
yeah, I know. She's pre-teening so hard.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So what I've really the way I have tried to summarize it for myself,
Mhm.
and the way I've tried to share this message with others, and this is where I want to hear your feedback on this, is uh, be a parent, not a boss. I see so many parents
Right.
just telling kids, do this, do that, do this, do that, instead of do this because you should be doing this or this, trying to raise them so that they're self-efficient, internally
Right.
motivated, right? And they understand why it is that they're doing it and not just being told do it. But this goes back even to what we're saying with a burnout, right? The different generations. This is how all of us were raised, right? Just do this, do that. And it's really hard to break through to that. So what's been your experience? What thoughts can you share on that?
With my kids, I have worked extremely hard to make them self-sufficient, independent, and their wellness a priority for myself and for them. So from very young age, I have met them where they're at. So I totally agree. Be a parent, not a boss. So when they were toddlers, I would get down to their level.
Yeah.
I would get on my knees
Yeah.
and I would say, touch face, because, toddlers look around and do whatever. They would touch my face with their hands so that we could have the eye contact, or at least they were looking at my mouth or
Yeah.
my eyes. So
Right.
either way, we could focus and we would talk and then we would let it go. I did not believe in timeout. When they got to a certain age, like, of course, if they're doing something dangerous, like you might have to sit in the high chair for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But like after that, what I did do when they could go to their rooms, I'd say, go to your room. And when you are calm, please come find me.
Yes.
So whether you need to be in there for 5 minutes or 5 hours, it's up to you.
Right.
Like, but go in your room. That is your space.
Right.
Because I would ask them when they would throw things or what, when they were little, is it okay to be angry? And they would say no. And I would say, absolutely. It is okay to be angry.
Yeah. Right.
Feel that. Like, absolutely. But what's not okay is putting hands on each other.
Yes.
Or throwing things when we're angry.
Yes.
Or, so when we feel those big feels, and I'm a feeler, so I feel big. So I get it. Emotional regulation when you're a big feeler and you're young is hard. It's hard for me as an adult. So even to this day, they are 16, 15, and 13. If they are upset with me or I say no or something happens, they go to their rooms on their own. I don't say anything.
Yeah.
They go to their rooms on their own. They do whatever they need to do to calm down, and then they come find me.
Yes.
There is no instruction anymore.
Yeah.
There is no go. It's ingrained in them. And the same thing with like door slamming. I don't deal with that because when it started, when they were little, we literally took their doors for a week every time they did it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So now as teenagers, when they get pissed, if like their window's open or something and the door slams a little bit, they'll open it really fast and go, that was the wind, it wasn't me, and like close the door quietly. So like I don't really deal with a lot of the issues that I see some of my friends and other parents dealing with teenagers.
Yeah.
Because I've worked really, really hard, but it starts when they're little.
Yeah.
You have to meet them where they're at. If your child is 5, you need to meet them with a 5-year-old vocabulary and a 5-year-old heart and mindset.
Yeah.
Like if your child is 10, then you need to meet them at like, this is their life experience.
Right.
Think about that. Like their life experience is so limited. A year for them is so long because they've only got 10 of them. Right. But like a year for us, it's a blip in the system.
It's getting
a
shorter
glitch in the
every year.
matrix, right? Yeah. Like so because it's less and less part of our life experience.
That's so
like
true.
a big part.
Yeah.
So for us, it speeds up. For them, it's going really slow. So you got to keep all these things in mind when you're parenting.
Yeah.
And know that each kid is different.
Right.
And if you parent them differently, that doesn't make favorites or whatever. You're meeting that child individually where they are at.
Yeah.
I am not friends with my kids. I don't believe in that. But we do have open communication.
Yeah.
And honesty and transparency. So those are values that I instilled in them when they were little. Like the lie, don't lie to me. The lie is what gets me. That's what I'm angry about. That's what I'm disappointed about. You are going to mess up. That is your job. You are a child.
Yeah.
Like you are going to mess up. That is fine. I can handle the mess up. What I can't handle is when you lie to me about the mess up.
Right.
Own it. I'm raising 2 young men. And for me, they need to own things.
Absolutely.
When they hurt somebody's feelings, when they whatever, we're not pushing it off. It's not girl stuff. It's not what, own it.
Yeah.
And own your feelings and communicate that. And my boys do a really good job of doing that. And I say boys because I think men have it harder when it comes to feelings and things in this society, right? Like you're not supposed to feel and cry and be upset or get angry or you're allowed to be angry and like stoic. That's it. The 2 things. And I want to raise great partners for my kids' future partners.
Absolutely.
Like I want to raise great men and my daughter to be a great young woman. who is a great partner for somebody in the future, like who is the best version of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever that looks like. So I have different expectations for my kids, because like when it comes to grades, there's one kid who is in high cap and AP and gets straight A's, and she can. And then I have two boys who are like academically average. I expect A's and B's because you can.
Sure.
So like there's a lot I could go on about parenting all day. Like,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I
I
really
know.
just think that like the days can be really long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. Like, but there's so many things I have to share with people on parenting, and especially when they're small and things are hectic and you're tired and it's frustrating, but really to enjoy the ride and to figure out your identity during these transitions.
Yeah.
Because right now, like you got a 10-year-old. Does she do activities?
Oh, yeah. Tons.
Okay, so you're driving everywhere,
Yeah.
waiting at practice, waiting at rehearsal, doing all
Right.
that. I'm at this stage where my son's about to get his license, which will literally free up 10 hours of my week
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I will be that I would have to be at practice.
Right.
And this is a transition, like
Right.
one that people don't really talk about. We talk about empty nesting a lot, but we don't really talk about this transition from, you need me, into this independence that happens, and it hurts a little bit. It stings. And we don't talk
Yes.
about it enough.
It's very
And
much a
so
double-edged
that's
sword, right? Yeah.
it is.
Because
So
you're like,
because if you're doing it right, they become more independent faster. They're faster to launch.
yeah.
But at the same time, what I tell people is, you always anticipate the first steps, the first word. You coax it out of them, you teach them, you whatever. What you don't anticipate is the last.
That is
The
true.
last time they want to cuddle with you, the last time you get a kiss on the mouth, the last time you're able to pick them up,
Yeah. That is so true.
because you don't know when that is.
Right.
So I just tell people, as hard as it is, hold on to that.
Yeah.
Because one day you will miss it. Like when they want that extra hug at night or whatever, and you're dog tired and you just don't want to, like just do it. Because for you, it's 2 seconds. For
Yeah.
them, that 2 seconds could feel like a lifetime.
Right. That is so true. And that is sort of in everything you said there. The way I've looked at it is, sure, I'm a parent, but going back
Yeah.
to the not being a boss, right?
Yeah.
That only means that I've had more years and more experience, and I'm trying to
Exactly.
share some of it with you. It doesn't mean I get to tell you how to live your life. I just get to guide you in your own journey. You're your own person. You're your own human being, right? And that's perfectly beautiful. Now, there's some things that I have to teach you about the way society works, so
Yes.
that you can't be set up for success, right? There's certain
Yes.
things like lying and stealing that you shouldn't
Yeah.
do. Those are just hard no's. But outside of that, I want you to be able to be your own person and have that space to explore, have those feelings, right? Whether it takes 5 minutes or 5 hours in your room, right? It's okay to have
Yes.
feelings, right? But
Yes.
yeah, feel them. It's okay to have feelings. It ultimately, the important thing is what you do about it, right? What's
Yes.
your reaction to that? And that's something that I can tell you. I can give you some words of advice, but ultimately that's for everyone individually, for us to figure out how do we deal
Yes.
with our emotions on our own, right? And
Yeah.
having that
Emotional
space,
regulation
right?
is hard.
It's
Yeah.
so hard.
Emotional regulation is hard.
But that also, right? I mean, that applies to kids, but that applies to adults as well. I mean, that's again
Yes.
going back to the whole leadership and corporate culture
Mhm.
and burnout at work. I mean, that's not any different, if you think about it, than raising children, right? It's the
Right.
same stuff. It's just packaged
Yes.
in a different color. I've really found there's so much overlap in what we can do in both of those spaces. So that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear your thoughts on this,
Yeah.
being so aligned with what I'm doing. So that's amazing. So I want to ask you some couple just weird personal questions, just to get some
Yes.
the quirky
Let's do
Devinne
it.
out, right?
Yeah.
So
Let's
just
do it.
start with a simple. What is a place that you haven't been to yet, but you really want to visit?
I've traveled a lot, but India is on my list.
Why India?
India is on my list. The whole eat, love, pray vibe, right? Like,
All right.
I think I love the culture. I have the Seattle area has a heavy Indian population.
Okay.
So I have a lot of friends, and so I've learned a lot about the culture and seen it and watched shows and whatever. But I think It's a bustling place with a beautiful history. And to go to places, because America is so young
Yes.
in the world,
Yes.
right? Like we are the youngest country. So to go to places that have that kind of history that we don't have, I think is beautiful. And I
Absolutely.
think getting to see their practices and their spirituality and the food and the culture and how people treat each other, like I think that's a beautiful thing and that I just want to see and
Yes.
experience
Yes.
for myself.
You know, that's one of the things, like with my kids, they're finally old enough that I think we can do some of more. I
Yeah.
grew up in Europe, so I have a
Okay,
very
whereabouts?
Germany. So
Okay,
I
my
have
sister's in Sweden.
okay, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
anywhere in Europe, all right. I mean, going back to the
Yeah.
history, right? I mean, you grow up with a
Yeah.
very different perspective on things,
Yes.
and here we are with my kids, like they're like, well, we are gonna have Chick-fil-A or McDonald's for dinner. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're so missing out
Yeah.
on the amazing food that is out there in the world. Like you're not even thinking big enough yet, right?
Hmm.
But I'm also kind of scared about that because their palate is still somewhat limited, and I don't know how adventurous they truly are with going to other countries and eating other foods. Um,
We used to call it an adventure bite. Take an
yeah,
adventure bite, just
right,
one. Like
right,
you can not eat it, but just take one adventure bite and then you can say you tried it and you hate it. Great.
exactly, exactly. Although I also say is just because when you're 6 years old you don't like it doesn't mean that when you're 8 or
Yeah.
10 or 12
Your
years old
taste
you
buds
right
change.
your taste changes. So
Yeah.
just you want to be open to the opportunities. Don't want never say never, right?
Yes.
So I know you're in Seattle, but would you rather take
Yes.
a cold shower on a hot day or a hot bath on a cold day?
Cold shower on a hot day. I have a thing about baths. Like I feel like I have to shower before I take a bath because otherwise I'm just sitting in my own filth.
Okay, no,
Like
that's
I
fair.
just, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
my thought process.
yeah. It's the same
So
reason.
cold shower on a hot day for sure.
Yes, yes. This may be TMI, but that's in
Yeah.
college I realized I need to wash top to bottom because why would I wash bottom to top and then rinse all the dirt
Yeah.
across all my clean areas, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
Yes.
these little quirks that all of us
Yes.
humans
You
still
just
have, right?
learn. You
Right.
learn.
So would you rather be able to speak any language in the world or know the answer to every trivia question?
Oh, I would speak any language because I love people. So
Yeah,
that would allow me to connect with so many more people.
right.
So I in a heartbeat.
I agree. I agree. All right, final one. Would you rather have a cat that barks or a dog that meows?
Those both sound terrible. I hate cats, but the meow sounds terrible. I take the dog that meows, I guess.
All right.
Hopefully it would just be not too annoying.
Well, hopefully you could train the dog more than the cat to, maybe be
Exactly.
quiet or something, or
Exactly.
go somewhere else to meow. All right, fair enough. Any last thoughts from you? Where can people find you? Anything else you
People
want to
can
share
find
with the world?
me on Instagram at High Vibe Coaching 206. There's also a Facebook page, and then this Friday we're soft launching. So I'll be soft launching through the end of the year. So there will be a temporary website that is already up and running
Okay.
where you can buy services and gift certificates and sign up for the 2024 workshop series. Um, and then the hard grand opening will be in January. So super excited and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll make sure that all these links are going to be in the comments somewhere
Okay,
below.
cool.
So people can find you. That's awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thank you, Devin. This was amazing connecting with you. Love the
Awesome. Thank you
conversation.
so much, Felix.
Totally.